whilst the ECG maintains there's no load shedding, Parliament's Mines and Energy Committee has established that the erratic power supply facing the country is because of a power generation deficit.
We are currently not shedding load, so we are not shedding load. Thank you.
Well, it's obvious that it's a generation challenge. It's been confirmed that there's a deficit. Even as at yesterday, they were shedding load. And so clearly, this issue of transformers is neither here nor there.
There's more as the committee vows to do everything possible, including meeting the independent power producers to ameliorate the situation.
There's load shedding, there's a generation deficit, and the utilities have to inform customers before their lights are taken out.
Also coming up, a major health disaster looms as health commodities intended for treating various health conditions, including HIV, tuberculosis and malaria, worth $40 million, continue to languish at Tema Port a year after the Global Fund donated them to the country.
The essence of our intended action, therefore, is to draw the attention of the Presidency and Parliament to the looming public health emergency if no immediate actions are taken on the matter. Our greatest fears are that if no action is taken now, by the time the medications are cleared, some may have expired or may no longer be safe for human consumption.
Also, Chief Justice declares war on corruption in the judiciary, outlining her broad vision to root out corruption in the institution in a rare national address as she enters the first year in office as head of the judiciary.
I deeply crave, along with all well-wishers, I'm sure, to change the tag of corruption, ineptitude, and inefficiency around the neck of the judiciary and judicial service officers.
Now, call it Doomso or Doomsiesie, as the Energy Minister Matthew Prempeh chooses to call it. There is no denying the fact that the ongoing intermittent power supply is taking a toll on many households and businesses. In the first part of JoyNews' Dooma Diaries, Kenneth Jesse explores the devastating effect Doomso is having on the printing industry, which has led to some workers in the sector being told to stay home.
This building houses a cluster of printing shops. On a regular working day, they print everything from receipts, brochures, to calendars. But these days, they print almost nothing. This shop has a minimum of 4 workers. But now, barely 2 employees show up at work. The reason? Intermittent power supply, popularly known as Doomso. This job requires uninterrupted electricity supply to function. But with the recent power outages, the shop has been rendered redundant.
When the people bring their jobs here like this, they want it fast. So you don't have any reason to delay them. But since Monday up till now, we don't have light here. So all the work that they brought, they have to take them back. So at the end of the day, you spend money for transport, you come and sit down here, you have to eat. You know, as for stomach, it doesn't know whether you are working or not. So you come, you eat, and you go back home. So it's not helping us at all. The business itself was down because most of the things are being printed from China now. Okay, so the small stuff that we are getting here, with just Doomso, everything is now zero.
For some time now, we've been having this on and off, this lights out. And moreover, the business is not booming as it used to. So the little that, we have to do, when the lights goes off, then maybe the client also feels like he needs to deliver the job the same day. So when the lights go off like this, sometimes we try to persuade them to give us, let's say, some hours, maybe a day. But most of the times, it fails us because we normally tell them they should give us a time. They will go. By the time they will come back, the lights are still not back. then you realize that they will just come and carry the job away.
Just like most Guineans, these workers are calling for a timetable. They say a load-shedding timetable will help them plan their work schedule so they are able to meet clients' deadlines and do not lose contracts due to unexpected power outages.
So I think that should be the best way, because if I know that today, Tuesday, I won't be having light here, I won't bother myself to take car from a far place and come and sit down just to come and sit down here. I will have prepared or organized myself better for it. If I know I will be having a work to do, maybe in the night, I will arrange myself to come and do it in the night. So by the morning, when the light is off, then I will go and rest. So the timetable is very necessary to be very helpful.
Oh, how about the timetable? You need a timetable to schedule our this thing. If there is timetable, you know that tomorrow there is no light. You can stay home and manage it. Maybe the money you use is to take care. You can manage it, and the next day, you know that the next day the light will come.
But do they have a standby generator that will, at least, keep their business running in the event of doomsday? I asked.
Yeah, actually, we're having one. Since for some time when the lights came to stability, yeah, we actually took the generator away because we don't have space here. And where the generator is, the children, most of the times, they normally play around, set fire and so on. So the other time it was about to, catch fire. So my boss took it away, thinking maybe now the lights are stable.
4 stores away is another shop that performs a similar function. Not as big as the previous one, but of equal importance. This is where they stitch the books and other printed materials before they are sent to their destinations. But the recent power outages mean they will have to sometimes stitch the books manually.
We are using this machine for the stitching. You used to stitch this book. If there is no light, you can't use it. Yesterday, they made light off around dawn 4:35 that way. Light came around 12 o'clock this afternoon. So that you can't work. This one is printed. If there is no light, you can't print. After printing, they'll bring it to here. Here is the finishing side. If there is no light, there is nothing going on. So,
the last time I came here, I saw a number of people, but today you are the only person.
Because of the light was since yesterday, this afternoon, 12 o'clock before the light came. Because of that, they are no. Yes.
The impact of intermittent power outages on these businesses has been dire. Some staff have been told to stay home for the time being. The rest that show up either sleep, read a book, or engage in an activity or two to while away time. Kenneth Jesse for Joy News.
Well, tonight, the Electricity Company of Ghana is still warding off claims that the ongoing power fluctuation in the country is not a scheduled load shedding. The ECG claims that the situation is so because it is currently undertaking maintenance works on faulty transformers. However, this claim contradicts the latest findings by Parliament's Committee on Mines and Energy, which has established that power generators are unable to operate to full capacity due to financial constraint. This was confirmed when all stakeholders in the value chain of the power sector were summoned to the committee to comprehensively address the situation. So what exactly is the current power situation in the country? What has ECG been responding to the great call about since last week? My colleague Kofi Eje, who is a research analyst here at JoyNews, joins me to help us create a picture of how the power sector is and what ECG has been saying. Kofi, so I mean, we've been studying what the ECG has been saying to Great Co's assertion that ECG has not been listening to the directions from them.
Well, so first of all, ECG admits that, look, in our quest to deliver our mandate, we cannot do away with Great Co, who are our partners. But being our partners, we also acknowledge that there's some sort of, what they call allegations that Great Co is actually peddling against them, that they feel that are not true. And so they decided to explain what the issue actually is. So in terms of GridCo giving them routine directives for power load shedding, they say that is true. GridCo goes ahead to give us routine, directives that share this amount of load or whatever. But they say that there's a problem. And the problem is that you have inadequacy between the time these requests come and then the time that ECG, they receive it to do the load shedding. Now, if you look at the second point, they go ahead to say that between January this year and March 2024, they have received 64 notifications or requests from GridCo to shed load or to actually go ahead and do doomso. But they say that there's a problem because out of this 64, 40 were for peak periods and they have the time there. And then also about, some 35 of them were off-period times. So if you do the math, you realize that most of the requests that came from ECG were during peak periods. But ECG has a problem. The problem is that they feel the request that GridCo gave them did not come at the time. So if you look at this one, for instance, let's look at the third one that talks about the time difference. So it says for January and February 2024, ECG received 17 requests from GridCo to drop. So here it's still talking about the number of requests that they received from GridCo. Let's look at the fourth one that sought to explain the time difference.
For March 2024, ECG received 46 requests from GridCo to drop loads ranging from 80 megawatts to 500 megawatts. Now, due to system challenges within ECG's network, we were able to comply with 15, that is 33% out of the 46 number request. In addition to the loads dropped by ECG, GridCo also routinely disconnected additional ECG feeders and BSPs. A compliance rate of 100% for January and February and 33% for March does not support the assertion being made by GridCo that ECG does not comply with.
So they have a problem with it. Now let's go to 6. It is becoming interesting here. It says that it is also on record that requests from GridCo for ECG to drop load are mostly received within 30 minutes to 1 hour prior to GridCo's disconnection. ECG feeders at the
BSPs, the box supply point. He
said this short duration does not give ECG adequate time to plan, prepare, and implement this request, and more importantly, to inform customers about the load management. So basically, ECG is saying that, look, we receive the request all right, but they come at a time that we find ourselves in a very difficult situation to comply with. And it makes it difficult to tell our customers that we'll be shedding load. And so you will just be there and ECG will put up the lights and you ask yourself, why didn't they inform us? Today, they are telling us that GridCo did not provide us
enough time
in time. That's why we also decided to put off your lights without giving you priority.
But you've been checking the data. What is the real issue confronting the power sector? Is it money or is what?
Well, so the main thing has to do with fuel. And when you start talking about fuel or gas, you start talking about money. And if you look at the Energy Commission's projection for 2024 energy sector outlook, we said it a number of times here on JoyNews Prime that Ghana needs about $1.2 billion to buy fuel. Now, we've been doing some math, so $1.2 billion. It means that every day we need about $3.3 million to buy fuel. And every month, close to $98 million to be able to buy enough fuel to feed all our power plants. The reason why it's important is that you have your generation where about more than 65% of them are from thermal. So at every point in time,
you should have fuel.
You need fuel to power them. If you don't do it, they will drop in terms of generation, and that will affect your dependable capacity. And definitely, if they do, we'll sleep in darkness.
Interesting. So that's how the situation is looking like, that we need money to get fuel. And my colleague Samuel Imbra has been monitoring Parliament's Committee on Mines and Energy and also joins us with some details. Imbra, what was the position of the ECG when you posed the question about the ongoing load shedding?
Well, could you is about people not getting power in some parts of the country, and the committee is sitting to establish that there is a deficit in generation, like Kofi J just indicated. The EC boss, that is Samuel Dubik Mahama, insists that there's no load shedding. What is currently happening that has resulted in the power fluctuation has to do with maintenance works of their transformers. We can listen to him make that point.
The assurance is that we are doing our best. The lights are going to stay on. Most of the transformers that we spoke about and the intensification exercises are almost done, so we should just stay positive. There will be a proper statement as to the way forward.
Are you shedding load?
We are currently not shedding load, so we are not shedding load. Thank you.
Well, so Imbra, I mean, what was the reaction to the committee on this same load shedding issue?
Well, ranking member on the Mines and Energy Committee, John Jinapo, I posed the same question to him about what is currently happening. Then he confirmed to me that since last year, September 2023, there have been challenges with regards to generation. So because there is a deficit, that's why they have been conducting some load shedding management. But they are keeping it from the eye of the public and then telling us that it's just a minor problem that they are dealing with. However, he indicated that all the value chain stakeholders who appeared before the committee testified, that was on Saturday, under oath, that the situation we have at hand has to do with power generation. So he insists that unless that issue is resolved, we'll continue to have these challenges, and revealed that this issue started since last year, September 2023, but it was swept under the carpet without any serious action taken to save the situation. We can listen to John Jinapo in that interview that he gave these responses to me.
Well, it's obvious that it's a generation challenge. It's been confirmed that there's a deficit. Even as at yesterday, they were shedding load. And so clearly, this issue of transformers is neither here nor there. The root cause of the problem, as was confirmed at the meeting, is fuel. And that if they get fuel, this load shedding will be curtailed. And so we've had an engagement with the ministry. They've assured that government is looking for money to procure the fuel. We asked for some definitive dates that was not forthcoming. They just said that they are doing their best. And so the committee has directed that would-be customers who will be affected ought to be informed ahead of time. So in a nutshell, it's a generation challenge arising from fuel. There's load shedding. There's a generation deficit. And the utilities have to inform customers before their lights are taken out.
So Imbra, what has the committee decided to do in resolving the issue going forward?
Well, we have been able to establish that the problem is generation. So when it's a generation, you need fuel. And if it is fuel, you need cash, per the analysis you and Kofi made, and what was established at the committee. At the moment, when I posed a question about how much we need to assuage the situation now, chairman of the committee, Samuel Atachia, was not emphatic about it. He was not also emphatic about when they would have this issue resolved entirely. But what they are going to do is that they are going to engage the independent power producers and the energy ministry, as well as the Ministry of Finance, to clear all the outstanding arrears. But when the committee is done with this work, they'll present their findings before the Speaker of Parliament, Abba Swani Bagwin, and if there are any consequential orders to be made, the Speaker will do that. We can listen to Samuel Atachia confirming this to me in this interview.
Well, whatever it is, I can assure you that because power is critical to the whole economy, money should be found by even the Ministry of Finance. So if there's any shortfall in funds, so that we can generate enough power, that should be found. You see, because you can't have it both ways. If you don't want to find the money to generate the power, you won't have power, and you need power to propel the economy, and it's cyclical. You come back to square one. It's a vicious cycle you should avoid, and that is how it's going to be. The only thing which is very critical is that let's aid ECG to plug in the loopholes. So ECG will generate a lot of money, and then it comes to the cash waterfall, and those who have contributed in generating power will be paid. And then it goes on like that. If there is under recovery of revenue, they will not be able to meet the obligations they owe to the power generators and GRICO by extension. So this is how the situation is all like.
So, Honorable, the meeting of the committee ends today, right? After that, what happens?
Well, we will have to come out with a communique, as to the way forward. And then we monitor everybody who is in the value chain, that we achieve what we are all looking for, an end to power outages. We come back to the glorious 7 years of President Akufo-Addo, in which we didn't have these power outages. It shouldn't happen. He's been very, very, very good in trying to generate power for 7 years. We see it as a mess for anybody to try to say that, at the closing chapter of his reign as president, there should be power challenges. But what we're going through is a temporary one. It doesn't measure up to what we experienced 3 years of, doomsday.
I think earlier you were telling me that there's good news. This issue is not going to persist for long. But what you have heard from them, what is the assurance? What is the situation on the ground now?
The situation on the ground is that we need to generate more power, and everything which is requisite for power to be generated will be generated.
Well, away from that, 266 containers fully loaded with antiretroviral drugs, insecticide-treated nets, rapid diagnostic test kit, cartridges, and others remain exposed to the weather at Tema Port for over a year, as the government expects donors to cover $3.6 million clearance cost. According to the CSOs, the delay in clearing the much-needed health commodities severely impact healthcare delivery in the country. Speaking at a press conference, spokesperson for the group and president of the Ghana HIV and AIDS Network, Ernest Amwabeng Otson, emphasized that a major health disaster looms if the government does not immediately order the clearance of the goods.
We, the leadership of the coalition of CSO networks in HIV, TB, and malaria, wish to bring to the attention of the media and the general public our intention to present a petition to the presidency and parliament on the continued lockup of Global Fund donated health commodities at Tema Port. The commodities in reference, valued at more than $40 million, have been wasting away at the port since May 2023. They comprise antiretrovirals for treatment of HIV, medications for treatment of TB, ACTs for treatment of malaria, insecticide-treated nets, rapid diagnostic test kits, and gene expert cartridges, among others. The situation has currently created stockouts in health facilities across the country, leading to needless loss of lives and frustration for health workers. The essence of our intended action, therefore, is to draw the attention of the presidency and parliament to the looming public health emergency if no immediate actions are taken on the matter. As we speak, we are not sure of the storage conditions of the commodities. We are not sure whether these delicate commodities are being sheltered under the right temperatures or they are being exposed to the vagaries of the weather. Our greatest fears are that if no action is taken now, by the time the medications are cleared, some may have expired or may no longer be safe for human consumption.
And the CSO have blamed the government for its insistence on the donor Global Fund paying the levies and port charges amounting to some $3.6 million as the reason for the delay in clearing the much-needed drugs. However, the CSOs have reviewed plans to stage a major protest on April 17th to draw attention from the presidency and parliament to avert the impending health catastrophe. Now, Mr. Amwabeng is joining us on phone now. Grateful to you for joining us here. He is President, Ghana HIV and AIDS Network. Now, first of all, could you share with us the number of containers currently at the port?
Okay. A very good evening to you and good evening to your listeners. As at last week, the information we had was that we had 266 containers at the port.
Okay. Now, we also understand that you've engaged the new GRA boss over this issue. What has she been communicating to you?
Yes, the GRA Commissioner General has approached us, and she has indicated that she just assumed office, and this issue is coming to her attention for the very first time. So she wants to work with us to, as soon as possible, get the communities clear. And we have also indicated to her that we are ready to cooperate with her and get the communities clear. Except that you've had too many promises in the past, and none of those promises materialized.
Okay.
So we are going ahead with our planned series of actions. But if along the line they're able to clear the goods for us, then we will pay cost our.
Okay. Thank you for joining us here. Now, meanwhile, President of the National Association of Persons Living with HIV, LC Aye, has also been expressing frustration over the lockup of the commodities, highlighting the dire impact of the unavailability of the drugs on their members.
We had HIV infections, 9,000 HIV deaths. Why? When we can push back AIDS. Now we are talking about HIV. I always refuse the AIDS because there's no reason why anybody, any Ghanaian should have AIDS. We have treatments, we have the healthcare, the system is working apart from what we are seeing now. So there's no reason why we should talk about AIDS in Ghana. We want persons living with HIV to live productive lives. We want children born to mothers living with HIV who happen to be infected to live their lives like anybody else. But it is not happening. We are losing so many children. We are losing so many young people. It is unacceptable. So we want you, please, you've been supporting us. Please push this thing forward. Let us, the chair has already said, of the ED of Garnet, it takes so long for the medications to get to the facilities. So when we are told they've been cleared, it doesn't say anything. If our people can't go to the facilities and get their medication, they are not available. And we want that to happen. Last year, we were told, oh, the truck has moved, and it would take 6 weeks for it to end the route it had gone on, and then come and pick some more and go along another route.
Now, related to the story, Chief Executive of the National Health Insurance Authority, Dr. Dacosta Abuaje, has unveiled an ambitious plan to ensure that every Ghanaian receives at least one annual medical checkup. The initiative is part of his vision to address the country's existing health threats and proactively identify potential risks, ultimately fostering a healthier population nationwide. In a yet-to-be-aired interview with JoyNews' Raymond Aqua, Dr. Dacosta Abuaje announced that Ghanaians who are not yet registered under the scheme will be captured when they visit the hospital for their checkup.
When I was in the Ghana Health Service, we started with what we call the wellness centers, okay? So the holistic assessment of the Ghana Health Service now assesses the wellness centers in the various hospitals. At least we want all the district hospitals to have the wellness clinics. But my proposal will not really need the wellness clinic, but it is part of, because that's a broader something that we talk of, because it will be different packages within. Then we secured funding from USAID, a project called Accelerating Social and Behavior Change Project, that's about $15 million for a pilot under our network of practice, which is currently being implemented by the Ghana Health Service. But that was just to be a pilot. But under the promotive preventive benefit package, I have singled out just one important thing that the nation needs, the medical check. And I'm saying that it doesn't take much to obviously do that. So whether you are sick or not, I'm giving you the opportunity to go to the to go to hospital settings and just have your vitals checked. We will send you a text message. Because we have the data, so we'll send you a text message. We have our membership, so we'll send you a text message to remind you. Just go to any health facility and check your vitals under that benefit package. Now, under what we call the Ottawa Charter, okay, point 5 says that we should reorient health services towards prevention is better than cure. The Ottawa Charter started in 1978, okay? Advanced countries, they've been doing it. The lower middle countries, we've not been doing it.
This is still the JoyNews Prime. We'll take a quick break. When we return, we have more news for you here. Stay with us. Welcome back from the break. Now, the Chief Justice, Gertrude Torkornoo, is declaring an onslaught on corruption in the judiciary, pledging a relentless effort to rid the judiciary of corrupt elements. The Chief Justice, in a rare public event to outline what she says is her vision for the judiciary service, says they are setting unknown faces who engage in corruption in the name of the judiciary. Years after the analysis expose on corruption in the judiciary, the institution is still yet to fully recover, with successive Afrobarometer reports showing that the citizens still think of the judiciary as corrupt. Gertrude Torkornoo says the judiciary must shed off the tag of corruption.
I deeply crave, along with all well-wishers, I'm sure, to change the tag of corruption, ineptitude, and inefficiency around the neck of the judiciary and judicial service of Ghana. We cannot do this without the support and attention of all stakeholders. The Bangalore Principles of Judicial Conduct and the Latimer House Principles are international instruments that Ghana's judiciary are committed to. In order to shake off these tags, training needs to be supplemented with consistent culture-changing strategies to deepen ethical models of work in the courts. Judicial administration must close the gaps through which court users are subjected to exploitation and rent-seeking behavior. This demands the removal of as much of the human interfacing that court work is exposed to. Court officials are expected to work with independence, with impartiality, competence, and integrity. Much of these ethical values are lost in the heavy traffic of human interfacing between court officials and court users, including unknown brokers functioning around the courts. The vision for producing culture-changing reorientation programs cannot be achieved without the active participation, the active partnership and support of stakeholders, including communities of businesses and donors.
Now, the Chief Justice has been citing protracted land dispute as one of the issues facing justice delivery in the country, assuring that land issues will not receive rapt attention from the courts. Gertrude Torkornoo also says that the judiciary will truly digitalize under her watch with electronic court filings and hearings.
There is a need for the judiciary to make itself accountable by increasing transparency in the process and output of our judgments and decisions through real-time publications of decisions, especially when it comes to decisions on land ownership and other areas of law that affect the economy and social stability of the country. The judiciary is not known for speaking outside the corridors of the courts. And so it will not surprise me if many find this morning's event a bit odd. However, I have taken the step of doing so because, as Albert Einstein is quoted as saying, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. What is causing so much litigation over land? When land is the most effective source of equity and capital for prosperity and business. Could the high cost of doing business in Ghana be related to the incessant litigation over land? How are we affecting the peace index of the nation through this high volume of land litigation? What must we all do differently? As Administrator of Justice, on behalf of the citizenry, I deem it my bounden duty to call for such conversations that will assist us all to break these high walls against the easy flow of capital and investments into our country because of the uncertainty of security of investment in landed property.
Our Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu, is pledging the support of the government to this initiative.
Justice is not about its trappings, but its utility. I am happy that the Honorable Lady Chief Justice, just like her predecessors, has answered this important call, and by doing so is leading the third arm of the state to make the promise of our nation evident in the lives of our people and extend to all the protection that is theirs by birth. I note with great admiration and excitement the new impetus, focus, energy, and dynamism that her ladyship has brought to the administration of justice since she took over the reins of office less than a year ago. It is this new zeal and sense of urgency that has culminated in the vision that we are launching today, which would be the blueprint for her administration and point the way for the judiciary and the judicial service towards the goal that meets the justice demands of the 21st century and beyond.
Let's do election headquarters stories now. Election headquarters is brought to you by Petrosol, your clean fuel in full quantity, the Chartered Institute of Management Accountant, and the American Institute of Certified Public Accountant, together as the Association of International Certified Professional Accountants and the German Ozone Medical Center. Alternative therapy, dental, wellness, and beauty. Election headquarters for an informed electorate. Now, you know that ahead of this year's general elections, the leadership of the New Patriotic Party and the National Democratic Congress in Bawku and 5 other constituencies affected by the Bawku conflict have jointly agreed and signed an undertaking to deploy some strategies to help de-escalate ethno-political tensions in the area before, during, and after the elections. The two leaderships signed and issued a communique at Bogatanga in the Upper East region after an engagement session organized by the Belim Wusa Development Agency, a Bawku-based community development organization. Correspondent Albert Sori reports.
In January this year, the Belim Wusa Development Agency, BUDA, a Bawku-based community development NGO with funding support from the European Union through Kojinta Ghana, organized separate engagement sessions with the leaderships of the MPP and the NDC in the constituencies affected by the Bawku conflict. These constituencies are Bawku Central, Binduri, Pusiga, Timpani, Garu, and Zebila. The dialogues, which were organized under the Preventing Electoral Violence and Providing Security to the Northern Border Regions of Ghana program, also had regional executives of the parties in attendance to deliberate on how political parties can contribute to fostering and maintaining peace in Bawku and its environs before, during, and after the elections. At the end of those separate engagements, both parties recommended the need for a joint follow-up engagement with the two parties to enable them to consolidate strategies for action towards peace in the Bawku area. Therefore, a joint engagement was organized this April for the MPP and NDC executives in these 6 constituencies to come together to discuss strategies they can adopt to, among other things, encourage a more peaceful approach to the political discourse as the elections approach. This, they believe, will foster and maintain peace in the Bawku enclave this election year. At the end of the dialogue, the two parties jointly issued a communique on the agreed strategies they have adopted. The Bawku Central Constituency Communications Officer of the MPP, Nuruddin Guma, and his counterpart for the NDC, Yusuf Otumba, presented the communique to the media.
The discussion centered on the duties placed by the Political Parties Act 2000, Act 574, on political leaders to commit to shaping the political way of the people, disseminate information on political ideas, social and economic programs of a national character, and especially taking cognizance of the prohibition of the use of words, slogans, or symbols which could arouse ethnic, gender, religious, sectional, and political divisions in the area. During the dialogue, both sides recognized that the chieftaincy institution is guaranteed under the 1992 Constitution and that matters relating to the institutions are the preserve of the appropriate traditional councils, regional houses of chiefs, of the National House of Chiefs under the appropriate customary law and usage. Both parties therefore agreed to refrain from meddling in and making pronouncement on chieftaincy-related issues and pledge to educate their rank and file on the matter in the interest of peace and tranquility before, during, and after the 2024 general elections. The two parties pledged to support each other to campaign freely in the area devoid of rancor and name-calling.
They also revealed how they intend as leaders to get all their followers in line for the agreed strategies to succeed.
Both parties have agreed to ensure cordial relations between leadership, which is expected to trickle down to individual members at the grassroots.